What's up, everyone? It's Larry the Batman fan back in the same day with another video because I felt like I needed to get this out there. I've done a top 15 for quite a few systems, but I felt like this one needed to be mentioned as well as the GameCube. The Nintendo GameCube has a lot of great titles on the machine, although it seems like kind of like the Wii U, a lot of the games were ported onto different consoles as well. So it's kind of like, do I get it on GameCube or do I just keep it on PS2 or Xbox? Now, we'll say that out of the three from that generation, from the early 2000s, I think the PS2 and the Xbox were stronger consoles. Personally, that was my feeling on it all. But the GameCube still does have some great titles that need to be mentioned for this top 15. Now, a couple of these titles I currently do not have. I used to have them, but GameCube, I traded a lot of my GameCube stuff in, so recuperating some of this back, I've only got about 15 or 20 games. So I got 8 games here in this pile that will be mentioned, but right at the moment, the number one game on GameCube, in my personal opinion, has to be Super Smash Bros. Melee. That game I put in so many hours, so much time in, and it was nice when I had more friends because then I could have them over at my house. We could drink some energy drinks and just play Super Smash Bros. For several hours, playing as Mario, Luigi, Daisy, Peach, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Captain Falcon, Fox McCloud, Falco, Slippy, Peppy, the Ice Climbers, and some of the Pokemon characters in the game. It was just a blast to play for a fighting game, and you could have more than one person playing against the CPU, the computer. You could probably have like 4 people plus the CPU. And it was just a blast to play, and to this very day, for some reason, it still holds its value, and it is most definitely the best Super Smash Bros. Game. That's why I have to give Super Smash Bros. The number one spot for the GameCube, and not very many people give that the number one spot. They usually choose a different Mario title or a Zelda title for number one. Number two is Zelda The Wind Waker. This game is excellent. One of the best games on the GameCube. Best looking games. Great action adventure slash RPG game where you play as like Link when he's like a kid. Go through the levels, collecting stuff, killing bad guys, getting power ups for your sword and for yourself, like these potions and whatnot. And it really just is a blast to play. It was also ported to the Nintendo Wii U later on and the Nintendo 3DS, but the best version is the GameCube version. And currently on eBay, it's about $80 to $100. It's a really good game, and I highly recommend it if you have a GameCube. Number 3 is Luigi's Mansion. This was a great game. There's no denying the legacy of Luigi's Mansion. That's why they spawned 2 sequels, Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon for the Nintendo 3DS and Luigi's Mansion 3 for the Nintendo Switch. It's a great game where you play as Luigi, you go around in the levels, and you got like a vacuum cleaner to suck up ghosts and talk to this person to get to that door and this door and the other door and get through the level and all that other shit. And it's a blast to play. I definitely recommend it if you're a fan of Luigi and playing as Luigi instead of Mario for a change. Number 4 is Mario Kart Double Dash. This game is great. It's one of the best games you could get on the GameCube. It's a lot of fun. It has a lot of good tracks. I think I had the ones from the previous levels, plus it also has some of its own, and it's a really fun game. You know what you do in Mario Kart? You race around the track, throw shells at the bad guys or the people you're racing against. Characters like Mario, Toad, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, and Waluigi and Wario and Donkey Kong and the Koopa Trooper. And you go through the levels and you just race around the tracks and you get power ups and throw it at your enemies and try to take the lead for first place. And also the battle mode really shined in the game. You could play in the actual Nintendo GameCube level, which was very linear, I will say, but it was still pretty cool. The block fort, and then there was this level in the game for the battle mode where you'd be racing around this like track, and then there's this spot where you go through the pipe and come out the other pipe and pew, right out the pipe. Pretty cool. And there was also Cookie Land, which looked like actual Cookie Land. So it's a good game, and I recommend it. Number 5, I actually do have here in my stack of games, so I will be mentioning it. It is a great game. I think it's underrated personally. Um, Actually, we're gonna show both since I have both. Without a shadow of a doubt, Resident Evil 5 would be, or 4 rather, would be on GameCube. One of the best games that you could get for GameCube. It really is a masterpiece of a game that's been remade so many times because of how good the game is. It was put recently on PS4 and Xbox One, and also the new gen consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, because it's such a good game. Remade, the controls are excellent, and the graphics look great. I think the game is pretty similar in the remake, but this is the original that we're talking about. The one that was just on GameCube, PS2, and the Wii. And I have all 3 versions of the game. So for me, I'm going to stick with that. I'm not going to get the remake because I have 3 versions of the same game. So I don't really need it, even if it looks beautiful looking. But yeah, it's a survival horror game. You play as Leon Kennedy, trying to save Ashley, the president's daughter, in this game. And there's these humans that were infected by some sort of virus. They weren't turned into zombies, but they were told to kill Leon Kennedy if they see him. And so the first level, when he sees the guy, he's asking for Ashley and stuff. The guy sees him, turns around, and he attacks somebody, dodges out of the way just in time, and doesn't get killed by the pitchfork. And then you have to shoot that guy and kill all these guys. Got that crazy dude that can kill you in one hit with a chainsaw. That murdering psychopath right there. Those guys, when it was like him and like 3 other people coming towards you, take him out first. Definitely take him out first. It's a great game. I highly recommend it if you have a GameCube. Now, number 6, I have to put it on the list, even though it's also a Resident Evil game, is Resident Evil 0. This game's great. There's also Resident Evil 0 on the Nintendo Wii. They made a port of that, the archives. And then they also have the Umbrella Chronicles, which is basically this game, but the game plays like an Unreal shooter in that. And in that version, Rebecca's voice, it's all distorted, to be honest. It's a little messed up. It doesn't sound right. But in this version, her voice sounds perfect. And she has to team up with Billy. He's a criminal in the game, but she doesn't really have a choice because when you go solo through the game, you damn near get killed by these zombies in the game. And so then when he finally convinces her, look, if we don't work together, we're never going to get the hell out of here. We're never going to survive. And, we need to work together, because if we don't, you're going to be worm bait, basically. You're going to be shit up shit's creek, like screwed without a paddle. And so she finally agrees to work with them. They both have walkie-talkies, although they're walking side by side, which makes no sense. But anyways, great survival horror game. I highly recommend it if you have a GameCube. Next game, let's see, we've done, that was number 6, so now we're on number 7. Just want to make sure I didn't lose my count. Um, Number 7 is Geist. I don't have Geist currently, but I think Geist was a good game. It was a first-person shooter where you and your team get killed. You're like a military team. You all die. You get killed by like bad guys and stuff, evil forces, and these creatures. And so you come back resurrected, but you're a ghost. And so what you do is you manipulate things in the environment to scare the crap out of people, and when you do that, you can take over their body. And then you use that to go through the levels, like opening up doors and things like that. And you also get to shoot people. So it's a first person shooter game, a mature game, and it's really good. It's very hard and very challenging, though. You will get stuck and a bit frustrated playing it, but eventually you will get through the game, and trust me, it really is a good game, and it's highly overlooked, to be honest. So I recommend Geist if anybody hasn't played Geist. Number 8, let's see, what would I choose for number 8? Oh, it's got to be Metroid Prime. I can't forget Metroid Prime. Yeah, it has to go on the list. So Metroid Prime is a great game. Definitely one of the best GameCube games. It's a first-person shooter in the Metroid Prime trilogy. I know there's 3 in the main trilogy, that is, but the third one's on the Wii. Although they did port the first 2 onto the Wii officially with the Metroid Prime trilogy, which had 1, 2, and 3. But that one's really expensive. So if you want to get a cheaper price, around 30 or 40 bucks, or maybe 20 if you're lucky, just get the GameCube version. It's great. I didn't really like the second game because it was a chore to get through. It was very challenging and very frustrating. Plus that dark world, you get hurt easily and you can die. But the first game was a masterpiece for a game. Alright, now number 9 is this game right here. Crash Nitro Kart. Another fun Mario Kart style racing game, but it's like not Mario. It's with Crash Bandicoot and all these other characters like Neo Cortex, Crunch, and Aku, and Tiny, and his sister Coco, and basically you go through the levels and you get power ups and stuff. And try to go for first place in this game. Um, you can get ahead of them and whatnot. It has the same type of gameplay as Mario Kart, and it is also a great game. The game was also released on the PlayStation 2. I don't know if it was released on Xbox, but I know it was definitely released on PlayStation 2. I have it on both now. It's a great game. I highly recommend Crash Nitro Kart if you guys like racing games, or just racing games that are more arcadey and focus on the fun. Alright, without a shadow of a doubt, number 10 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. I do not currently have it for GameCube. I have it on PS2, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was a great game. Really, any of the Tony Hawk games are a blast to play if you have a PS2, an Xbox, or a GameCube. Or if you use a PS2 to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, 2, and 3 on the PlayStation 2. Because those games were originally released on the PlayStation 1 and N64. And the first 2 were also released on Sega Dreamcast. They never ported the third game on Dreamcast, though. I don't know why, but they never did. Could have been because Dreamcast was a short lifespan. But yeah, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was a great game. Great game to go around doing tricks and stuff. And it's just a lot of fun, especially when you play multiplayer, playing a horse, free skate, graffiti, trick attack against your friends. I became like a beast at Tony Hawk, whooping Joseph's ass in it, whooping Mike's ass in it when Mike used to hang out with me. I don't mess with Mike anymore. And then some other friends that I have, I was just that good at Tony Hawk. Like barely anybody could beat me at Tony Hawk. I'm a beast. I'm a savage. So that's why I put it at number 10. And that's the highest I've ever put Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is at number 10. All right, now number 11 we have here. We're going to flip it now, of course, and we're going to put some games that normally people wouldn't put on their list. Definitely need to put an RPG up here, so let's go ahead and rectify that. Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. This is a great game. It's a JRPG and the Lord of the Rings world. I got this off my main man, Gimpy Ninja. I think it was $7 or something. Of course, I got in a stack of games, so I can't really. I think it was around $5 to $7, but I don't have very many GameCube games, so I decided to add it. It's also available on PlayStation 2, and I think it's on Xbox. But it's a really good RPG game, a lot of fun, a lot of leveling up, fighting the guys. It's just a really good game, There is some exploring in this game as well. And, getting from point A to point B, and when you finally do, you end up in a battle system, and you attack that person, and that person attacks you. So actually, it has that action RPG focused element thing going on in it that the Return of the King game, Fellowship of the Ring, and the Two Towers didn't really have. Those were more action games. This one plays like an action RPG or JRPG. And it's really good. I recommend it for number 11. All right, now number 12 we have here. I don't have the cover art, but it's Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was a great game. Definitely a fun game here. I'll show it one more time because the disc was upside down. But yeah, the game was also released on PS2 and Xbox, but the game's great. Spider-Man 2 is a blast to play. It was one of the first Spider-Man games that we got that was actually really good. Because, you had the Spider-Man game on the Nintendo, the NES, Spider-Man Return of the Sinister Six. I already ranted on that game because that game sucks. I talked about it on the collab video I did with Jackal Gold Kid because that game's terrible. And then they made a couple of Spider-Man games on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, but they weren't very good either. Yeah. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, they weren't very good. And then they made Spider-Man on PlayStation 1. I think it was also ported to the Dreamcast as well. That game was actually pretty good. And that was I don't know if it was based off the anime show, the animated show, or just was put on it just to be put on it or whatever. But it was a good game, and that was the first time we got a good Spider-Man game. It was on the original PlayStation. And then when we had the movie-based games based off the Tobey Maguire trilogy, we had the first game, second game, and third game. Third game sucked. The first game based off the movie wasn't bad. It was decent, but the problem was that you couldn't fly through the city. You couldn't free roam like you could in the second game. So the second game proved to be even more fun, just swinging around in the city and doing the mission objectives when you wanted to. You really couldn't do that very much with the first game. But yeah, it was a good game, and I do recommend that game. Now at number 13, we have Dave Mirra Freestyle and BMX 2. This game was a blast to play. A lot of fun for a sports game. It's basically kind of like Tony Hawk, but on a bicycle. And you go through the levels, getting 10,000 points, 20,000 points, 30,000 points, whatever the amount it was. Knocking over ladders and stuff. And doing a nose grind trick over 2 or 3 picnic tables or something. it's a fun game to play, it really is, and it's overlooked, honestly, compared to Tony Hawk, which is more known. I don't think very many people would put this on their list, but it is a really fun game, and the multiplayer in this game was really fun as well. The best runs, with the tricks and whatnot, 3 minutes around there or 5 minutes, whatever, against your friend, and then like getting six scores and trying to beat your friend in the multiplayer was a blast. Really was. The game was also released on PS2 and Xbox. And then I have two games here. I feel like I gotta mention something else besides these two. I'm gonna go ahead and put one of them on here. I'm gonna put Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Double Agent. This is a great game. Also released on PS2, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. And the funny thing is, the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions play the same, but the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox versions, I think they play slightly different than the ones that were on PS3 and Xbox 360. Oh yeah, and the game was also released on the Nintendo Wii. One of those rare cases where the game was released on the Wii. But it's a good game, a good stealth game with Sam Fisher. Continues the story from the last game. You go through the levels as a double agent, and you kill terrorists. You know, and you find out information about people. And the character you play as is Sam Fisher. You know, it's a really good game. I definitely do recommend this game if you guys like stealth games. And number 15, I have to put it on here, even though it's really not a not like a hidden gem or anything, but that's Kirby's Air Ride, because Kirby is a fun game, and I felt like it needs to be mentioned here. Kirby is a great game. That one not as exciting as the other Kirby games because they were like side scrollers, where you suck things up and spit them out like psh, at your enemies and whatnot, like Kirby's Adventure on the NES and stuff, and the Kirby games on the DS and the one on the N64 and the Super Nintendo, and the two that were on or three that were on the Nintendo Wii. This one plays more like a racing game, so that's why it's a lot different. But it's also a really fun game, and it's not bad. Um, Honorable mentions for the list is Turok Evolution. This is a great game. Also available on PS2, but it's still fun. Time Splitters 2, most definitely got to put that up there. Time Splitters Future Perfect. Eternal Darkness, that's a good game. Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7. Zelda, Twilight Princess. It was also on the Wii. And honestly, if I was to pick it up, I'd probably get the Wii version over the GameCube version. But that's just me. Zelda 4 Swords Adventure. Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, Resident Evil 2, and also the Resident Evil remake, which was on GameCube. It was the first, based off the first game that was originally for the PlayStation 1. And I think it was on Sega Dreamcast as well. Never got a port to the N64 though. Only the second game did. Conflict Desert Storm 1 and 2. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2, and Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Super Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, and Vex, Rogue Ops, which is also on the Xbox and I think the PS2. SSX Tricky, SSX 3, Burnout 2, and then Mario Power Tennis, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights, Scooby-Doo Mystery Mayhem, Lara Croft Tomb Raider Legend, and Blood Rain, 007 Nightfire. Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. 18 Wheeler. And trying to think. Sorry, guys. I don't know. Um, Agent Under Fire. 007 Agent Under Fire. That was good on the PS2, but it's also available on GameCube as well. And there is another Zelda game on the Nintendo GameCube that I'm forgetting to mention. I just can't remember the name of it. And then also Sonic Heroes. There's a couple of Sonic games on the GameCube. You had the Sonic Mega Collection and the Sonic Gems Collection, which had a bunch of the Sonic games from the Sega CD, the Sega Saturn, the Sega Genesis. Those were good games as well. So that's just some of the GameCube games that I recommend if you guys have a GameCube. Thank you for watching and thank you for tuning in and listening to me talk about the top 15 best Nintendo GameCube games. And take care. God bless. Peace. Peace.